I made so many mistakes my first year of teaching. Sometimes I wonder, how am I even still teaching? But making mistakes is part of the learning process, and it's how we become better. In today's teaching tip video, I'm going to share with you the top 5 mistakes that new teachers make their first year of teaching. Coming up. What's going on? Mr. Thain here, and I made a lot of mistakes my first year of teaching, and I thought I would share with you some of these mistakes that I made and that I see other young or new teachers making so that you might potentially avoid some of the pitfalls that I had during my first year. These top 5 mistakes are in order from the least egregious to the most egregious mistakes. Mistake number 5, making assumptions. A lot of new teachers make too many assumptions when they go into the classroom. They assume that kids know how to line up in a line. They assume that their students know how to pass out papers and collect papers, assuming that kids know the school rules or your classroom rules after telling them just one time. Make no assumptions. If you assume that your students will know how to do something without you telling them, you're setting yourself up for failure. So don't make any assumptions. You've got to always go over the routines, procedures. You've got to always go over that right at the beginning of any lesson. The very first thing that you should do when the kids get there in the morning is greet them, but also remind them of what they're expected to do right off the bat. Even in May, don't be assuming that your students know what to do. It's not going to be good for you. Mistake number 4, being afraid to speak up, to speak your mind, to say what you think in staff meetings, in meetings with the principal. Don't be afraid to bring some of your new and fresh ideas to the table. It's okay to speak your mind. You're fresh out of college, you're new to this, you might have some new exciting ideas. Don't be afraid to speak up, and if you have a good idea, talk about it. It's all about your delivery. You don't want to come off as a know-it-all or I'm gonna change things around here because I'm new. But if you can respectfully bring up an idea that you have, you might be helping out the whole school. So you got hired here for a reason. You got hired for an important reason. The principal or whoever hired you saw something in you. So don't be afraid to speak up and speak your mind. Mistake number 3. A lot of new or young teachers make this terrible mistake. They find this really cute or cool activity on Pinterest, or they heard somebody else taught this thing, this really great unit, or this really great thing, activity, art project, whatever. And they plan it out and they do it all and they get it all ready, and they didn't ever align it to any standards. And at the end, it's like, what are they supposed to be learning? Why is this important? Is this just a cute activity? You're wasting everybody's time. You don't start with the activity and then try to fit standards in. Oh, there, this goes with that standard. You gotta start with your standard first and then build out the activities around it. That way you know and can always stay focused on your objective. If you find a really cute Pete the Cat activity and then you start planning it, and by the end of the time you're done planning, you don't even know what you're supposed to be teaching anymore. It's just not as strong of a lesson if you have an activity and then you go, oh yeah, I suppose that'll work with this standard and this standard. It just won't be as strong, and the desired outcome won't be as powerful for your students. Remember, it's about your students learning. It's not about a cute activity. It's about what they can learn. Mistake number 2, doing too much. You're doing too much. You have too much on your plate. A lot of new teachers feel pressure to join every single committee there is. You're on the planning committee, you're on the PBIS committee, you're on the communications with parents committee, you're on the whatever else committee, you're on the keeping the hallways clean committee. I don't know, there's so many committees, and you try to be on all of them or too many of them. Or you try to coach your first year. I want to be a volleyball coach. Great, cool, but you probably shouldn't do it your first year or two. It's a lot to do. Or doing too much with your lessons, trying to accomplish too many objectives in one lesson. Just doing too much in general. Spending so much time on things that simply don't matter. Not every lesson has to be Pinterest worthy. Not every lesson has to take you hours and hours cutting things out, laminating things, getting things together. That doesn't have to be the case. It just doesn't. And it's all fine and dandy when you start the year off gung-ho, I'm gonna do all that, and then you're just gonna get burnt out. It's all about getting the bang for your buck as a teacher. If I can teach my students the same thing with a 15-minute mini lesson, and they can actually learn it better because it's direct and it's hyper-focused, that's going to be more powerful for them than a crazy elaborate lesson that I spent hours and hours planning, and the kids might not even know what the heck they're learning. Yeah, they're going to have fun, but do they know what they're learning and why? So doing too much, just in general, in all areas of teaching, a lot of new teachers just try to bite off way too much, and just focus on teaching your first year. Teaching is hard enough. And that brings me to number one, the most egregious mistake that new and young teachers make. And the number one egregious mistake is not being consistent in everything. Not being consistent with your classroom management plan. You have a bad day in the class, your kids are a bit out of control, and you go online and you research and you come back the next day with a completely new behavior plan, and then you try it out and it maybe works or maybe doesn't, and the next day you have something completely new for your behavior plan. Or one day kids are earning points, the next day kids are earning Skittles, the next day kids are doing dojo points, the next day they're doing this and that. Not being consistent with your expectations, your classroom management, your schedule of the day. Math should always be at the same time. Reading should be at the same time, most of the time. Not being consistent, that's the number one mistake, because when you're not consistent, your students aren't going to feel safe. Students crave consistency. They crave structure and routine. And if you're not consistent with what you say and what you do and what you teach, your kids aren't going to rise to the level that they can. On the flip side, if you are consistent, if every day the kids come in and they know what to expect, they know if I talk when I'm not supposed to talk, this is going to happen every single time. Or if I don't turn on my homework, this is going to happen every single time. Not some of the times, not just for that kid, not just for that kid, but if they know every single time what's expected of them, every day we come in, every single day we come in, we hang up our coats and book bags. We sit down, we get out our journal, and we write. If every single day is the same, it builds a safe community for your students, and even your students that give you a little bit of trouble initially will eventually come around, because they'll see this is just what we do and this is just how it is, and that's just it. There's no other way about it. That's just how we do things. So being consistent, that's the number one mistake new teachers make, is they're not consistent enough. So there you have it. That's my top 5 mistakes that new and young teachers make during their first year of teaching. Please don't make those mistakes. And you know what? If you do, learn from it. Use it as a learning opportunity, because that's what mistakes are all about, is learning from them in the end. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a big old thumbs up. That would really help me out a lot. If you haven't yet already, make sure to subscribe to my channel if you want to see more teaching tip videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Don't forget to turn that bell notification on so you don't miss any videos. And as always, make it a great day, teachers, and see you next time.